Hey besties, it's Lisa Marie with Living My Best Life with Lisa Marie. I'm so happy you're here. Today we are going to do an unboxing, assembly, demonstration, and review of the xTool D1 laser cutting and engraving tool sent to me by Makeblock. I can't wait to show you this. So let's get started. I am so excited to unbox this very large box from xTool. It's the D1, and I opened the box but haven't brought everything out of it yet, and so let's do it. I'm going to adjust the camera so you can see what I'm taking out. This is packed very nicely, lots of insulation. That means it's probably safe and sound. Okay, so we've got some packing information, and I guess I need to go online and it will walk me through the assembly and how to connect it and how to use it. So once I get everything out of the box, we will do that. Okay, so it looks like we've got some zip ties, some screws, and a couple of materials that I believe we'll be able to use to engrave and or cut with. So this looks like part of the assembly here. You get everything else out of the box, and it's really wrapped super nice in this amazing kind of insulated foam, which is high quality. I get a lot of packages and very few of them are this insulated and nicely wrapped. And here's the rest of it. So let's get it out of this packaging here. Look at this, every single thing is covered in insulation. They definitely get an A+ on packaging. So here is one of the pieces. I can't tell you what it is yet since I haven't signed in online. Here is the next piece. Again, wrapped very nicely in insulation here. And thank you so much, xTool, for not using that white styrofoam that gets everywhere. Oh my gosh, this is a pleasure. Another piece. And looks like this is one of the belts involved. Here we've got our power cord, rest of the power cord. I believe this is what encases the laser. That's the protective piece around the laser to help protect your eyes. Some more of these cords in case you want to connect a computer directly to it. I love this protection glasses for your eyes to protect from the laser, which can be very dangerous. Another piece here. We'll figure out what all these things are once I get to the assembly. Here we are with the last piece. Now all these long pieces build a square because it is shaped like a square once it is assembled. Now they also sent me another box right here, and this is the Makeblock xTool engraving on cylinder rotary roller engraving module. And if I am correct, what this is for is if you want to engrave on a cylinder shaped piece. So you would attach this one. There's some tools and a cable, and here is the piece, and I assume that you would lay your cylinder, like for example I have my water bottle here, it's got water so I can't tilt it, but I'll show you this way. You would lay the cylinder shaped item on here, and then you would put this into the machine, and that way it can engrave on something that is cylinder shaped. Very cool. And it also comes, I believe these are the risers that go on the larger machine to lift it up higher, because this is going to be much taller than like a piece of wood, for example, or a flat piece of acrylic or leather. Yeah, these will screw on. I had seen a video about this. These will screw on to the bottom of the four corners of the square, and it will lift it up so that you can place this cylinder attachment in there. Okay, I'm going to go online and get this thing situated, and then I will be right back. All right, now that everything's unboxed, I'm going to attempt and successfully put this together. So there are diagrams online that have coordinating numbers with the pictures and the packaging, just like when you assemble furniture. And so what I'm doing right now is I'm putting the pieces, they kind of fit, each corner fits into one another. And then there are places for 3 of those little screws that you see in the middle of the screen to go in. And it even comes with little Allen wrenches that fit the appropriate size of the center of each screw. Now this part was a little tricky because you almost need 4 hands, if you know what I mean, because while you're holding one side in, you have to make sure the other one is lined up, or else when you try to put the screws in, they won't line up. And then they don't screw all the way in. So it took a little maneuvering back and forth and kind of using my elbow to push against one side with my hand on the other. And I do have this sped up because it would take too long. And I can explain it to you without you having to see it in regular time. So I did this with all 4 of the corners, and eventually I did get them lined up and I got all of the screws in all the way, and that was awesome. And like I said, took a couple tries, but you know what? I like building things, so I'm up for a good challenge. I wish you could see this better. I'm sorry, I can't get my camera any higher than it was. I tried, believe me, it was standing on all kinds of things, the little stand I put it in, and this is about as high as I could get it without hitting my ceiling fan. So you couldn't see all 4 corners at a time. So I just tried to kind of zoom in on the parts that I was working on. But again, the corners are really hard. You can see my phone's there and I'm looking at the diagrams the whole time, trying to figure out, where everything goes. So there, I've got all 4 pieces together. Now I'm going to take that middle arm and put that in. That was much easier to line up, and there's screws that you put in for that as well. Another little bit of a tricky part was there are a couple of screws you put in that affect the tension of the belts in the inside of each of those pieces. And so they tell you not to screw them in all the way. So I didn't, and in the end it worked. So I guess I put them in to the right level. But they don't tell you exactly how far to put them in. You kind of have to test that out. So I think I got lucky on that one. I just left them not all the way put in by a little bit. Not even close, actually. I shouldn't say by a little bit. It was more than a little bit that it wasn't tightened. But it was securely in there, so although it wasn't tightened, it was secure. So now you have these cables that come with it, and the diagram tells you exactly where to snap them in, and you look at it and you see there's a side of each cable that has like a little extra piece that sticks out, and that's how you know where the opening goes. When you see that, it will make a lot of sense. That's the best I can do to describe it. So you are connecting the cables from one end to the other, and then you're going to eventually connect cables to the laser itself. That's the cable that's still sitting there in the middle. And that's also going to be connected to that arm that's in the middle that goes up and down the box. So now I had to study my phone for a little bit to figure out where exactly all the cables go, and now I'm putting that other cable in, and you see one piece goes up there at the one end and the other one goes into the arm like I was kind of describing before, but now you can actually see me doing it. And I was just making sure, and they give you zip ties to try to keep some of those cables out of the way because you never want the laser to hit any of that. So I haven't snipped off the ends of the zip ties yet because I wanted you to be able to see where they were, so I left them in. Now I am attaching the laser to the cable, and there's a place that it sits right on the arm there. It just slides right in, and it literally it hits the top of my table there. So you definitely have to lift up the 4 corners if you're going to do anything that has any thickness. And I kind of figured that out when I did finally use it. I didn't realize it at this point. I'm getting all those zip ties in, and I'm making sure everything is moving properly, and I'm going back over my directions because I'm a little careful that way, especially we're talking about a laser here. I didn't want to do anything wrong. And so I'm checking it all out. Then I'm going to, there's a cord here that's going to eventually be hooked up to power. So it's got 2 different connections. So one to the box, and then to the other part of the power source connector, and then one goes into an actual plug. And so that's what I'm doing right, what you can't see right now off camera. So this is kind of a tricky part. Do you see that cable there that I'm touching or every so often? That doesn't get secured to anything because it has to be able to move with the arm moving back and forth like you just saw me do it. So you just have to kind of push it out of the way but not obstruct it from moving. It is now all assembled, and now I'm going to show you, all the way around where all the screws are, all the things you actually couldn't see before when I was trying to show you the big picture. And after I take this little video here, I do go and clip off the ends of those zip ties because I don't need to keep those ends on anymore. I just wanted to make sure that you could see where they were. And now we're going to come around, and this is where like the little motor is. And to the far left here, there is a place for a little SD card. So I'm going to show you that. You'll see that I will push it in, and that secures it, or push it again and it comes out. So it's like a little toggle thing in and out. Now we're just coming up around the other side, and then I'll give you a picture of you from literally the very front. That silver button that you see on the right there, that's what you push to start the engraving or the cutting. And then there's the on-off switch, and there's some cables there that are going to get hooked up to the power source and the computer. Now you can use Wi-Fi for this, or you can have it direct connected to a computer. And there's the laser, and you see how it's right up against my table while the four corners are sitting flat on the table, so does the laser. Now let's look at how this thing actually works. Before I actually demonstrate the machine, let me tell you a little bit about it. This is how it is advertised: as the best downsized, industrial high power and laser engraver and cutter. It has better technologies, increased accuracy, dual beam design, ultra fine laser focus, high precision, high power, high speed, option of using both beginner software called LaserBox and advanced software called Lightburn. It is lightweight, coming in at 17.75 pounds, and the price point is somewhere around $6.99, plus you'd pay for any accessories you decide to buy. You might wonder what you can use with this machine. You can use paper, bamboo, wood, faux or real leather, PCB board, aluminum oxide, metal, glass, and more. And finally, before we get started with the demonstration, who is this machine designed for? Business starters, hobbyists, designers, artists, homemakers, and professionals. I am now outside in my yard, and I'm setting everything up, and it took me a while to figure this out, but you have to have it hardwired to a computer first and then search for the Wi-Fi, and then you don't have to use the computer, you can use your phone. But I could not set it up just using my phone. So I think it's because I had to plug it in for it to recognize it the first time and then connect it to my Wi-Fi, and then it knew what to look for when I decided to use my phone. So I just want to make sure I mention that because that was tricky. It took me a while to figure that part out. I'm also trying to lift up the sides so that I can see how much higher I needed to be to use certain materials. You might wonder why I'm doing this outside. Well, it requires good ventilation. I mean, really good, because there's smoke and odor and there could be fire, so I wanted to be safe and I went outside. The first thing you're going to want to do is go to the xTool or Makeblock website. I will have the link down below, and then you're going to choose if you've got a PC or a Mac, and you will click on that software button. When that's open, you then choose which one you want, Windows or Mac, and it gives you the specifications. Now I'm on my phone. That was on the PC because I had to get it set up in my phone. I've already got the software called LaserBox, and I just pulled in a quick design out of my camera, and I'm sizing it, and you notice there's millimeters there, so I've got to be looking at the same time to figure out what does that even mean in inches. You choose your material. I'm going to choose basswood just to show you, but there's all kinds of choices there. And then there's density, power, speed, and how many times you want it to go over. And you can look that up and try to determine for the best use. I don't know what they all are for every kind of material. I just know for the ones that I just did. And you can save your design or not, and then there's also a gallery in the phone software, and this is just what they have in the gallery. Honestly, I just designed mine in Canva or just took a picture, and I've actually seen people use photographs and just clicking the different buttons so you can see you can save projects, and there's your device, and you can see if it's connected or not. Now, this is not an exhaustive tutorial, more I'm just kind of showing you around. So now I've got it on, and I'm putting one of their little pieces of wood that they gave me to try things out with, and I came up with a little design which was actually my logo. And sizing was tricky. Everything's in millimeters in their software, and of course we use inches here in the United States, so I had to have Google open the whole time, but it actually came out pretty good. It was just really small. So now I'm going to try this little piece of leather or faux leather that they gave you. It looks like a little keychain piece, so I found out that I had to put it on something. It was too flat. So now I'm going to do a little monogram with my last name to give to my husband for his keychain. And I thought that piece actually came out pretty good. And now for my review. Now, whether they sent it to me for free or not, you will get my honest opinion, I promise. I thought that it wasn't super hard to put together, but it was confusing in the sense that I was worried about if I did do it wrong, would I start a fire? That made me a little nervous. And so there's the first piece that I did. Sizing was very difficult. I will say that's a tricky part, and I think time is going to help and more practice. I do think it's just going to come down to using it more and more. That's the little faux leather piece that I did. It came out good, but I couldn't get it quite center. Again, sizing and where exactly to point the little crossbar was difficult. I do think that the engraving looks really good on the faux leather. Next, I took this little cutting board made out of that basswood that I ordered off of Amazon, and it was thin enough, and I designed this little Baker's Gonna Bake with the little pictures in Canva, and I saved it as a PNG file. And this is the closest one I got to actually being centered. The machine itself is not very loud. There is an odor. When you're using wood, it almost has like a burnt wood smell, and so it could also get smoky. I imagine if I was cutting, it would be more powerful to do that, and there would be a lot more of the smoke. And so there isn't a place on the machine to actually hook up an exhaust hose of any kind. There's a little fan, but it's not enough. And in my home, the rooms that I would use this in do not have proper ventilation. So for me, going outside is going to be the best option. If you had a garage where you could ventilate it, you could do it there as well. Where we live, we actually don't have a garage, and I didn't want to try the cutting until my fire extinguisher gets here. I've ordered one, but it won't arrive in time for the date I need to publish this video. I saw some sparks, and you will when you're using the laser, and that made me a little nervous for doing it inside and doing it even without a fire extinguisher. That is why I chose to do engraving versus cutting, which I would love to do very much. Overall, I think this is a really cool machine, and I think the more comfortable that I get with it, the more safe I will feel, and I would rather err on the side of caution when it comes to safety and fire hazards. So that's my plan, is to continue using it outside. Even when it gets cold, I can just put a jacket on, and for right now, I think that's going to work. I don't have to spend hours out there, but you cannot leave it, because if you were to walk away and then a spark left spot and caught something on fire, you wouldn't be able to put it out fast enough. So you'd have to stay with the machine. So I haven't done anything that takes a long time, which the really intricate designs and cutting might do that. But I would still recommend this, especially for those who want to be able to cut and engrave. I also think that the price is a good value. Some of the larger competitors are much more expensive, like exponentially more expensive. So for a crafter, hobbyist, a small business like myself, this is a great tool to have in my arsenal. I can cut out little wood pieces, use them in my crafts. I can make kits if I choose to. Those can be sold. You can engrave on tumblers and so on. So there's so much possibility. I think it would be worth it. I will leave you with one last question. What do you think? And what would you like to see me make with this xTool D1? Thank you so much for watching my video. It means a lot that you take time out of your day to watch, and I want you to know that you are a blessing to me. Here are a couple other videos I think you'll really like, so I hope you check them out.